Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow and normally takes thousands and thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Real Screen Team. I'm Andrew Thomas. I'm here with fellow X-Men, Christopher Johnson.
Hello everyone.
And we're back with the X-Men-a-thon.
Our most daunting marathon of all.
Yeah.
11 movies, everyone. 11 movies.
Yeah, we decided to kick out 3 of the movies.
Mainly because either A, they don't focus on anything involving the other characters that we plan on discussing, or we had to find a limit somewhere.
Yeah.
But in getting this all kicked off, why don't I go ahead and give a bit more of an overview of the franchise itself.
Yeah.
The X-Men are a superhero team appearing in American comic books published by Marvel Comics. In the Marvel Universe, there is a minority percentage of humans who are born with a genetic trait called the X gene, which grants them natural superhuman abilities, generally manifesting during puberty. These people are known as mutants. Due to their differences from the majority of humanity, mutants are subject to prejudice and discrimination. Charles Xavier, also known as Professor X, a powerful telepath, creates a special school for mutant children out of his mansion in Westchester, New York, which is also the secret headquarters of a special team of mutants who travel around the world to save and protect fellow mutants and humans from dangerous to world-ending events caused by villainous mutants, human bigots, supervillains, mystical threats, and extraterrestrials and malevolent artificial intelligence. This special team is known as the X-Men. Should I now go into the next?
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit more after. There are a few important eras for the X-Men throughout their history. While there are many, we're going to mainly focus on 3. The first one, starting with their original creation and publication run, as the Uncanny X-Men, created by writer-editor Stan Lee and artist/co-plotter Jack Kirby, from September 1963 to December 1970. The original X-Men team composed of Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, Jean Grey, as she was known during that time as Marvel Girl, Dr. Hank McCoy, a.k.a. Beast, before he was blue, Warren Kenneth Worthington III, a.k.a. Angel, and Bobby Drake, a.k.a. Iceman, with Professor X as their leader. Their arch enemy is Eric Lesher,
Yeah.
a.k.a. Magneto, a powerful mutant who can control and generate magnetic fields, and the leader of his own group known as the Brotherhood of Mutants, featuring Pietro Maximoff, aka Quicksilver, and his sister, Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch, and Mortimer Toynbee, aka Toad. Mm-hmm. The comic would focus on a common theme of good versus evil, while also tackling themes about prejudice and racism. X-Men believed in the idea of mutants and humans living together in harmony as equals, while the Brotherhood believes in mutant superiority. Now, where does that sound familiar? Just the bare bones idea of that. Where does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was essentially an allegory of the civil rights movement that was going on. With, in its bare bones idea, Professor X was kind of more of an allegory of Dr. Martin Luther King, while Magneto was more of an allegory of Malcolm X during the beginning of his time as the leader of the Nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. While being on the evil side of the conflict, the Brotherhood was shown in a human and sympathetic light via Magneto being a Germanic Jew who survived the Holocaust, and Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch facing racism for being Romani.
Yeah.
Overall, that first era was pretty good, but things got much better in the next era. Mm-hmm. The next era started with the revival of the X-Men in May 1975 under giant-sized X-Men, originally written by Len Wein and artist Dave Cockrum, and introduced new members of the team. Peter Rasputin, aka Colossus from the Soviet Union, Kurt Wagner, aka Nightcrawler from Germany, Aurora Monroe, aka Storm from Kenya, mainly Kenya, and Logan, aka Wolverine from Canada.
And we'll discuss more about him in his own intro video.
Yes. The revived series would then be taken under the helm of writer Chris Claremont, who would become the series' longest-running contributor from 1975 to 1991, and writer of numerous critically acclaimed landmark stories, such as The Dark Phoenix Saga, Days of Future Past, The Discovery of the Morlocks, The Trial of Magneto, X-Men God Loves, Man Kills, and even X-Men Apocalypse. Mm-hmm. By the early 1980s, thanks to Claremont's storylines, the X-Men had become Marvel's top-selling comic title. The popularity of Uncanny X-Men would lead into the introduction of spin-off books such as The New Mutants, X-Factor, Excalibur, X-Force, and a solo series based on Wolverine. Mm-hmm. Claremont would also co-create and introduce numerous characters for the X-Men series. The X-Men team would gain additional team members such as Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat, Anna Marie, aka Rogue, Betsy Braddock, aka Psylocke, Allison Blair, aka Dazzler, Jubilation Lee, aka Jubilee, and Remy LeBeau, a.k.a. Gambit. As well as they would also gain, I wouldn't necessarily call her a member, but she was a very good ally, and Dr. Moira Matacker.
Yeah.
The Brotherhood would also gain new members, including Raven Darkholme, a.k.a. Mystique, Victor Creed, a.k.a. Sabretooth. Do I just go by John, or do I add St. John to that?
I go with John.
John Allardyce, a.k.a. Pyro, and Frederick Dukes, a.k.a. The Blob. We would also see the introduction of additional antagonists, including Emma Frost and the Hellfire Club, Reverend William Stryker, Sebastian Shaw, Donald Pierce, and even though he's not mainly a Chris Claremont creation, Chris Claremont did write his major story, and Saba Nur, a.k.a. Apocalypse.
And let's get to the last era.
And the third and last era of importance would be known as the Blue and Gold era. Starting in 1991, when the X-Men launched a second main series just titled X-Men to run alongside the Uncanny X-Men. We would also see the team revised and split into two forces. The blue team, led by Cyclops in the X-Men series, and the gold team, led by Storm in the Uncanny X-Men series. The X-Men series would set a world record with its first issue selling 3 million copies, making $7 million in profit, making X-Men #1 the best-selling comic book of all time. The popularity of the X-Men has grown so much they started appearing in multiple forms of media. In 1992, the X-Men would get their own animated television series, running from 1992 to 1997, growing their popularity immensely and starting a boom period for Marvel animated series. The X-Men characters would also become major fixtures in a number of video games made by the company Capcom, and the animated series would launch a very successful action figure line. In 1994, 20th Century Fox and producer Lauren Schuller Donner would buy the film rights for the X-Men, starting one of the longest-running comic book film franchises with 13 films from 2000 to 2020. A lot of this success can be attributed to various writers and artists of the comic books. Writers such as Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Fabian Nicieza,
Yeah, let's go with that.
and Scott Lobdell, and artists such as Jim Lee, Wills Portacio, Mark Silvestri, and Rob Liefeld. In March 2019, Marvel Studios regained the film rights to the X-Men along with the Fantastic Four and Deadpool after Disney acquired 20th Century Fox for $71.3 billion. So now, after so many years, the X-Men are finally back home.
Yeah. So, want to tell about our introduction to the X-Men?
Yeah, why don't you go
Mine
first?
was the X-Men animated series.
Oh.
Mainly, I I actually watched the final episode of season 2 when they were fighting Mr. Sinister. And so Wolverine was the only one not captured, and then they re-aired then they showed the season 3 premiere in prime time, which was a Wolverine-centric story out of the past parts 1 and 2. They did it at the same time as the Mighty Morphin season 2 premiere. They were both on prime time, even though Mighty Morphin was a 3-parter, so it had an extra night.
So it ran just like how the first 2 episodes did back in the day.
Yeah.
They were shown in prime time on Halloween.
Yeah. Yep. It was a special primetime event. Yeah.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
Well, for me, weirdly enough, my introduction to a good chunk of the X-Men were thanks to the Marvel vs. Capcom games, as well as the X-Men animated series. Some of my earliest memories are either playing the games or watching the series on during Fox Kids.
Yeah, me too.
So, and as well, I have read some of the comics from time to time.
Yeah, I started reading like the 90s version of the comics that they did based on the animated series, so just with additional characters that they didn't use as much in the animated series.
Yeah, which sometimes that was one thing about the animated series I felt a bit down about, was the fact that some characters are very prominent, but yet we only got to see them for maybe an episode or 2.
Yep.
But the X-Men aren't just the only characters we're discussing for this big marathon. Due to his impact to the whole franchise, and also the fact that it's the 50th anniversary of his creation, we will also be discussing Wolverine and his 3 solo films that were made during the initial Fox X-Men franchise run with X-Men Origins Wolverine, God help us all, The Wolverine, and Logan.
Yep.
And at the same time, we will also be discussing another character that is the main reason why we're discussing all of this in full. Deadpool. With his 3 films, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, and the upcoming film, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. So pumped for that movie.
We all are. This is the only new Marvel movie we're getting this year, and yeah, this is a big one.
Yeah. But if you have your own opinions on the franchise, make sure to find us on Facebook, The Real Screen Team. Where else?
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and TikTok.
And make sure to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Definitely subscribe. We're getting close at 250 at the moment.
Yep, we're almost halfway there to our goal of 500 subscribers. Once we hit 500, we can finally start getting monetization for our videos. And as well, we will also start a Patreon or maybe something along that lines that we can give you special exclusive content, and also if you all want to throw a few extra bucks, we will also do special viewer request reviews.
Okay. So, we're actually reviewing the very first X-Men movie, X-Men 2000.
Yes. Where comic book movies were reborn.
Yep. So, want to roll us out?
Well, sure. Well, thank you all for watching. Definitely come back and watch us again. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, and click the post notification bell so you're updated with all of our upcoming videos. Well, cut, print, that's a wrap.